Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with some more Total War Warhammer 3 gameplay. Today we're going to carry on with our Laws of Magic series, as there's quite a few being introduced in Game 3, and I want to focus today's videos on the two Kislevite Laws of Magic. We're going to have one dedicated to the Law of Ice and one dedicated to the Law of Tempest. You see, both of the Laws of Magic are quite different. One is more defensive, one is more offensive. So with this video I want to focus specifically on the Law of Ice. We're going to look at each individual spell and see how they perform in battle, what they could be used for, and so on. So without further ado, let's begin. We're going to go through each spell in a clockwise formation, with the first one being Frostblades. This is an augment spell which imbues magical attacks, base weapon damage plus 25%, armor-piercing weapon damage plus 25%, and melee attack plus 24. Keep in mind that any values can change as future patches come ahead. You can choose to also overcast this spell, which increases base weapon damage plus 50% instead, and armor-piercing weapon damage plus 50%. Both are quite strong, and the duration of this buff is 26 seconds. Now obviously this is melee focused, you'll want to use it on something like, say for example, Zargard, and yeah, it's got a nice animation and so on. However, it would have been nice if the overcast version would have also done an area of effect, as single target buffs, and rather expensive ones at that. I don't know how well these are going to be used throughout the game. It's just something that just sounds a bit strange to me. Next we have Ice Maidens Kiss. This is a breath weapon spell, which is a short, wide, expanding tear-shaped attack, which also conveys the frostbite debuff. So not only are you doing damage with a breath weapon, which I say would probably be the most popular types of spells early game at the very least, but you're also reducing their speed, so if they're trying to run you can catch up to them. If you decide to overcast it, that means that you'll also get a decent amount of damage increase too. I'd say that this spell itself is going to be quite popular, as, well, you can see on screen in just a few seconds. If you can line it up, of course I'm just testing it out here on peasant warriors from Cafe because they're kind of weak and they're easy to just move around. You just keep them stationary and then cast the spell. It doesn't do a lot of damage, as you can see, but keep in mind that these are a lot of entities, so it's got a lot of HP. But it does cover a decent amount of area, and if you decide to overcast it, well, you do a lot more damage as expected. Now, yeah, what are you going to use the spell for? If you've got a lot of enemies stationary, as I've got them here, or if you've got them all scrunched up, this is usually the case with a lot of spells in Total War. I mean, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage, so that's the most important thing. The fact that this spell is so cheap too makes it extremely useful, because I do find that a lot of the spells here are quite expensive. Don't get me wrong, some of them are expensive for a good reason, but the others are a little bit overcosted. And the perfect example of overcosted is this one, which is Death Frost. This is a direct damage spell, causes damage to combatants, strong versus character too, so it's decent to, say for example, do damage to characters, single entities, anything around that like. The issue is, well, it's very expensive, you can see there, and overcasting it only really increases its range. Yeah, I don't know, it's very, very odd. This is one of those spells which is like, you'd expect it to be really good because we've got stuff like Spirit Leech, which does the same, and then this. I don't know, it just seems way too expensive for me. The damage output is pretty decent, but I'm just going to say it again, it's too expensive. I wouldn't be able to justify this because Winds of Magic, yes, you do have a bit more, and there are other ways to get a bit more through reserves and so on. But say, for example, the Breath spell or another damaging spell that we'll go over soon in this video are so much better in damage output that this just doesn't make sense. I cannot think of a reason why to use this. Mind you, out of both of the Kislevite laws, I'd say that the Law of Ice is probably the weakest. It's definitely more defensive than anything else, and I have preferred Tempest, but you never know for the future if some reworks come into effect and just kind of fix up the spells. Next we have Ice Sheet, which is an area of effect hex spell which reduces enemy speed by 25% and charge speed by 25%. It's not bad, it has multi-purpose here, as obviously you can either stop enemy from running around or getting into position, as slowing them down and moving your forces in between could be possible, or you could try and slow down any enemies with their charge speed. So yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect, especially since, and I'm being very honest here, with Kislev being so mobile themselves as such strong cavalry, and also the majority of the stuff being such a hybrid focus, most cases you're not going to be either moving much or at all, because you're just firing at the enemies before they can even reach you. Obviously a spell like this is quite good against, say for example, the Sineshi forces, but other than that I haven't really used this much. It's cheap though, so you can get a few uses out of it, but that's pretty much it. Now, we do have a very expensive spell known as Heart of Winter. This is a direct damage area of effect spell, which has 4 phases, meaning that it will get stronger as each phase happens. Phase 1, you'll do 25 to 50 damage per second for 8 seconds. Phase 2, you'll do 50 to 100 damage per second, but also lower their speed by 25% for 8 seconds. Phase 3, you'll do 75 to 150 damage per second, whilst also lowering their speed for 40%, again for another 8 seconds, and Phase 4, for 8 seconds once again, 100 to 200 damage per second, whilst also lowering their speed by 60% for 8 seconds. If you also choose to overcast the spell, well, that also means that you get increased damage, and the output is quite high. It does make it quite expensive. Baseline's around 24 magic, and then overcasted is 28. It's not cheap, but it does a lot of damage. This spell itself can delete multiple units without too much of a problem, so I'm going to have a clip playing, which is going to be the overcasted variant against a number of different enemies attacking my Tsar Guard. The last spell is Crystal Sanctuary, which is an augment spell which increases damage resistance plus 60%, and your unit can then not move, so there is a bit of an issue there. Its duration is 35 seconds, and if it's overcasted, it then turns into an area of effect, and a rather large one. Now, the thing is that this is a very defensive spell, and again, I think that its base version isn't too good because it's only 1 unit that gets affected, and it's very expensive for the overcasted version because, and I'm being very honest here, you're increasing damage resistance, which is very very but you can't move, meaning that if you want to get into position and so on, you're going to have to do that before casting the spells. A lot of stuff can get killed. I, in all honesty, don't find this to be one of the better Lords of Magic that we've had access to. Perhaps I'm wrong and you guys will have a different opinion, especially for this, but I will say that this is a generally very overcosted lore of Magic as a whole. And its uses are very spread out. This is a multi-purpose lore, but it's very focused on defensive, being able to do damage and keep damage back. It's just all over the place. The passive isn't too bad itself, armor plus 15, missile block chance plus 12, this is obviously in an area and triggers when casting a spell. It's very defensive like I said. We all have different preferences when it comes to Lords of Magic and so on, so let me know what you guys think about this Lore of Magic specifically, and obviously there is another video either coming out before or coming out straight after, which is going to go over the Lore of Tempest. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very soon. Have a good day.